Hello, and welcome to our second video about descriptive statistics. We are going to be talking about box and whisker plots today. And a box and whisker plot is a very popular way of describing your displaying your 5-number summary. And your 5-number summary has your minimum and your maximum, has your median, which is the number in the middle. Then it has what's known as your lower quartile and your upper quartile. The lower quartile is the middle of the minimum and the median, and the upper quartile is in the middle of the median and the maximum. And then you draw a box around your upper quartile, including your median and your lower quartile, like that. Your whiskers connect your box to your minimum and your box to your maximum. Then we have what's known as the interquartile range, which is basically how long is your box. So the distance between your lower quartile and your upper quartile. Something that's not in this picture that you also want to be aware of is how to find an outlier. An outlier is just a number that's really far away from the rest of the numbers in the data set. And there's a technical mathematical definition. It's not just what looks like it's farthest away. So if you take 1.5 and multiply it by your interquartile range, this gives you the location of what's called your fence. Anything outside of this fence is considered to be an outlier. What you do with this number is you add your fence to your upper quartile and you subtract it from your lower quartile. Usually you don't draw this in your box and whisker plot. I'm just doing this as a way to represent it. So if a number is outside of that fence, then it is considered an outlier. Just like with histograms, box and whisker plots are often skewed. So a symmetrical one looks very much like the one that I had above. Your whiskers are about the same length. The line representing the median is in the middle of quartile 1 and quartile 2. And in this situation, your mean and median would be very close together. Just like with histograms, you can be negatively skewed and positively skewed. And the negative and positive are often really just determined by which whisker is longer. So that means the median is further this way. Your mean, when you're negatively skewed, is going to be closer to the skew. So if you're negatively skewed, your mean is going to be towards the negative whisker. And if you're positively skewed, then your mean is going to be towards the positive whisker, the whisker on the right. We use box and whisker plots a lot of times to describe data that isn't very symmetrical because it gives us a really good visual as to where most of the data is. Most of the data is going to be inside your box, in your box and whisker plot. So we're going to make a box and whisker plot and describe the skew. And we could totally do this by hand, but we're going to actually do it on our graphing calculator. So here's your data. At some point, you might want to pause the video and put this into your calculator, into your list 1. So if we look at my calculator here, we have, I already have this data set in my list 1. So I go to Stat, and I go to Edit, and you see this data in my calculator are ready. So you don't have to watch me punch it in. And so then, after your data is in your list 1, you're going to go to your stat plot. Make sure that it's on. If you've turned it on previously, it should always be on. But you want to go back to it because you want to change it and make sure you're on the right thing. And if you notice, there are actually 2 box and whisker plots. There's this one and there's this one. And it's more of a personal preference sort of thing. If you look at the first box and whisker plot, hit enter to highlight it. And then go ahead and go to zoom. Remember, zoom 9 is zoom stat, and that'll make it fit perfectly in your grid. We'll get it over here so you can see it. This one shows you the outliers, which is kind of nice. So you know right here that you have 3 outliers. These 3 outliers are on the left. So the outliers would be your 3 smallest numbers probably, which would be the 95 and probably the 110 and then the 115. Those look like the 3 smallest numbers because these are all nicely listed in order. So those all 3 would be outliers. And then you have this whisker over here. It's kind of nice that it shows you right away what would be the outlier. You can also, if you go back to your stat plot, you can also just show it like a normal box and whisker plot. That's your second option that I have highlighted right here. Where it looks like your more traditional box and whisker plot where you have a very long whisker. The directions did ask us to describe the skew, so this would be most definitely skewed negative, meaning that the negative whisker is the longer whisker. And that's all I have for you today. Percentiles is up next. Oh wait, there was one more thing. If you want to put 2 box plots in the same window, okay, you do it very similarly to how you did it before. You need to turn on a stat plot for each box plot you want to plot. So you already had your plot 1 on. You would want to turn your plot 2 on, set it to be a box and whisker plot, and you would put your second set of data in a different list. So you want to make sure that if you put it in list 2, that you make your X list 2 here. Now I'm finished, and the next thing we're going to talk about is percentile graphs.